The official maps of Antarctica show nothing at those coordinates. No station, no base, no structure of any kind. Yet, in the winter of 1983, a classified joint expedition recorded something impossible. A network of geometric formations buried deep beneath the ice sheet. Not natural, not random, and not empty. What the instruments detected was described in the field report as a subsurface anomaly cluster, stretching more than 6 kilometers in diameter. The thermal readings were wrong. The magnetic field behaved abnormally, and beneath nearly 2 miles of compressed ice, there were hollow spaces, caverns, rooms, corridors, and something that looked disturbingly like a settlement. The team's drilling platform reached the cavity first. The ice core they pulled up contained traces of manufactured alloys, materials that should not exist in polar geology. The deeper they drilled, the warmer the readings became. At nearly 40 kilometers from the nearest research station, in the most hostile environment on Earth, they had discovered signs of long-term habitation. The second probe confirmed it. Walls smooth, symmetrical engineered. By the time the third probe descended, the thermal feed was showing something that no scientist present could explain. Faint heat signatures arranged in repeating patterns, as if the ground itself remembered where life once existed. The expedition requested immediate authorization to descend. Authorization was denied. Instead, they were ordered to remain on site and transmit all data in real time. For 6 hours, the feed remained stable. Then something changed. The instruments began to fail. Not randomly, systematically, temperature sensors reported conflicting data. Compasses rotated without cause, and the ground-penetrating radar began mapping structures that were not there moments before. One engineer wrote in his personal log, "The ice is lying to us." That night, a storm rolled across the plateau. Not a normal storm, no wind, no snowfall, just a deep, vibrating pressure in the air that made the equipment hum as if standing near high-voltage lines. At 02:17 local time, the first seismic shift occurred. Not an earthquake, but a displacement, like the ice itself had inhaled. The following morning, the expedition finally received permission to descend. What they found beneath the ice was not ruins, it was preserved. An entire colony sealed inside crystal blue walls, frozen in a moment of abandonment. Corridors carved with precision, chambers with smooth floors and curved ceilings. Embedded conduits running through the walls, still faintly conductive. Symbols etched into the ice itself, not decorative, but instructional, like a language meant to be read while moving. There were no bodies, no bones, no remains of any kind, only signs of life and signs of departure, sleeping quarters, work chambers, observation halls facing nothing but solid ice, and in the center of the complex, a massive circular structure that pulsed with residual energy, even after thousands of years of burial. The team stayed for 7 hours, then communication cut. When the feed returned, only 3 of the original 14 were alive. None of them would speak on record again. The expedition was erased from official history. The coordinates were reclassified, and the area was declared permanently restricted under an agreement signed by 12 nations. But the colony did not disappear. Modern satellites still detect anomalies at that location. Thermal blooms that appear in geometric patterns. Electrical signatures that rise and fall as if something underground is still operating. And every few years the ice above the site shifts, not melting but moving aside, as if something beneath it is breathing. Some believe the colony belonged to an ancient civilization that existed before the last ice age, long before recorded history. Others believe it was built by something that did not originate on Earth at all. But the most disturbing theory comes from the recovered logs of one surviving scientist. He wrote, "We didn't discover the colony. The colony allowed itself to be discovered. Because certain chambers were not abandoned, they were waiting, and whatever once lived there may not be gone, only hidden." The 3 survivors were flown out within 48 hours. Each was separated, debriefed, and then silenced. One resigned from science entirely and vanished into a private life that left no digital footprint. Another remained in government research but refused to ever return to polar studies. The third tried to publish a paper 6 months later. It was blocked at every journal, erased from archives, and the man himself died under circumstances officially labeled accidental exposure. But his notes survived. They described something no official document would ever admit. The colony was not built for comfort. It was built for endurance. The architecture followed no known human design principles. There were no sharp corners, no wasted space. Every passage curved in subtle spirals that followed ratios found in astronomical formations and molecular structures. Even the lighting, frozen in crystalline conduits, seemed designed not just to illuminate but to regulate something: temperature, pressure, even human perception. In several chambers, the team found instruments embedded into the walls themselves, fused with the ice as if the colony had grown rather than been constructed. These instruments were still faintly active, not powered by electricity, powered by something else. The deeper the team went, the more the environment changed. Gravity felt wrong, not weaker, inconsistent. Footsteps echoed before they landed. Voices arrived before lips moved. Some members reported seeing doorways where there were none, and others failed to see doorways that were directly in front of them. The logs describe one moment that ended all doubt. In the central chamber, beneath layers of transparent ice, lay an enormous circular structure the size of a stadium. Its surface was covered in repeating symbols that no known language could translate. The structure pulsed slowly, not with light, but with pressure. The air thickened around it. Breathing became difficult. Then the instruments began receiving signals, not from above, from inside the structure. The signal was not random. It was organized, repeating, escalating. One of the engineers recognized the pattern. It matched the same frequency spike recorded by satellites every few years at that exact location. The colony was not dead, it was dormant, and the presence of the team had awakened it. Several members of the expedition later admitted that they felt watched long before anything physically happened, not observed from a single point, but surrounded by awareness, as if the colony itself was conscious of their intrusion. The logs describe a moment of complete silence. No wind, no equipment noise, no heartbeat monitors, just stillness. Then one of the walls began to open. Not slide, not break. It unfolded. Layer by layer, the ice restructured itself into an entrance where no entrance had existed moments before. Inside was a passage descending far deeper than any radar had detected. They were ordered not to proceed. They did anyway. That was the last recorded transmission from the expedition. When communication returned, most of the team was gone. No signs of struggle, no footprints, no blood, just empty suits, dropped equipment, and the echo of movement where no one remained. The colony had not attacked them, it had accepted them, and then it had taken them. The remaining team members were evacuated under emergency lockdown, but the evacuation itself did not go as planned. During ascent, the aircraft's navigation systems began reporting impossible coordinates. Not wrong, but contradictory. North became south, altitude oscillated without movement. Timestamps on flight recorders drifted apart by minutes, then by hours. One of the crew later said it felt like the sky itself had been folded. When they finally reached base, the survivors refused medical treatment. Their core body temperatures were normal, yet frost patterns appeared beneath their skin, as if something inside them was still cold. Over the next weeks, every surviving member reported the same recurring dream. They stood inside the colony. The walls were no longer ice, they were light, and something beneath the central structure was rising. The man who tried to publish his findings wrote that the colony's design matched no known human civilization, but shared structural similarities with objects discovered in deep space probes decades later, long before those probes ever launched. He believed the colony was not ancient. It was older than human memory, and it was not built on Earth. It was anchored here, an outpost, a node, a stabilizing system placed beneath the ice for a reason no government has ever been willing to confront. His notes suggest the colony was constructed to regulate something about the planet itself. The magnetic field, the rotation, possibly the boundary between this world and something else. And as Earth systems change, ice melting, magnetic drift increasing, solar activity rising, the colony's signals have become stronger, more frequent, more organized, which suggests it is not failing, it is responding. And here is the detail that no official report has ever explained. Every satellite that passes above the coordinates of the colony experiences a momentary blackout. Every single one, even today, which means the colony is not merely buried, it is protected. And if something still operates beneath the ice, then Antarctica is not empty, it is occupied. And humanity may not be the only civilization that ever claimed this planet. As years passed, fragments of information began surfacing from sources that were never meant to cross paths. A naval navigation officer stationed in the Southern Ocean reported that his ship's sonar began returning shapes beneath the ice shelf. Not mountains, not caverns, but structures. Layered, ordered, vast. Another researcher, working on global magnetic field drift, noticed that fluctuations always spiked when satellites passed over the same hidden coordinates. The field didn't just weaken, it twisted, as if something below was exerting pressure against the planet's own core systems. Then came the data leak that changed everything. An internal geophysics memorandum described the colony as part of a planetary network, not isolated, one of many, hidden nodes positioned at mathematically precise points across the globe. All buried, all sealed, all dormant until now. The report suggested the Antarctic site was not a settlement. It was a control structure, built to stabilize the planet during a previous cycle of catastrophic change. The civilization that constructed it may have understood something modern science is only beginning to glimpse. That Earth itself undergoes periodic resets, triggered by cosmic events, magnetic shifts, and solar interactions. The colony was built to survive that reset, and to manage what came after. The more recent the measurements became, the clearer the pattern grew. The colony's energy output was increasing. The pressure anomalies were expanding. The blind spot on satellite imaging was growing wider by fractions of a degree each year. Not much, but enough. As if the structure beneath the ice was slowly waking, preparing. Some analysts believe the colony was never meant to remain hidden this long. It was supposed to re-emerge when conditions aligned, when the ice receded, when the skies changed, when humanity reached a technological stage capable of noticing the interference. And now, all three conditions are happening at once, which raises the final question no one dares to put in writing. If the colony is reactivating, what is it preparing for? And who is it preparing for? Over the last decade, the scientific community has observed something they cannot explain. Earth's magnetic poles are shifting faster than at any point in recorded history. The planet's rotation has subtly changed. Solar radiation interacting with Earth's atmosphere is producing effects no model predicted. And each anomaly correlates with one place: the coordinates of the buried colony. In 2019, a joint climate and geophysics team recorded a thermal bloom beneath the Antarctic ice. Not a melt zone, but a structured heat pattern radiating outward from a central point. The pattern was symmetrical, deliberate. It matched the colony's layout. The conclusion was never released publicly, but in classified briefings the wording was precise. The structure appears to be re-entering an active state. Soon after, airspace above the region was permanently restricted. New exclusion zones were added to maritime charts. International treaties quietly expanded their language regarding subsurface anomalies. The world was being prepared. Then came the incident with the autonomous research drone. It was sent to scan the area using non-invasive quantum sensors designed to observe through ice without interference. The drone transmitted stable data for exactly 90 seconds. Then it detected movement, not vibration, not collapse. Movement. Something inside the colony had shifted. The drone attempted to recalibrate. Instead, it returned a message that should have been impossible. Signal acknowledged. No one had sent a signal, and that is when the fear truly began. Because this meant the colony was not merely reacting to the environment. It was interacting, recognizing observation. And responding. Later analysis of the transmission revealed something even more disturbing. The signal that returned was structured in the same mathematical pattern used by human deep space communication. Prime numbers, geometric ratios, the universal language of intelligence, which suggests the colony was not only active, it was aware of us, aware of our presence, aware of our technology, aware that humanity is now watching the same sky the colony once watched. And if that structure beneath the ice was built by an earlier civilization, then that civilization did not disappear. They prepared. They built a place where time itself could wait. And now, as Earth enters another period of planetary instability, that place is no longer sleeping. The last confirmed data transmission from the Antarctic exclusion zone occurred at 0341 UTC. Not from a satellite, not from a station, from beneath the ice. For 13 seconds, global monitoring systems detected a surge of energy rising from the colony's location. Not thermal, not seismic, not electromagnetic. Something else. Every major sensor network recorded the same anomaly at the same time. And then the world went quiet. No storms, no auroras, no tremors, just silence. In the weeks that followed, glaciologists noticed something deeply wrong. The ice above the colony was thinning. Not from melting, but from pressure changes below, as if something massive was slowly rising. Naval sonar began detecting new voids under the ice shelf, expanding outward in perfect symmetry. The colony was no longer buried. It was emerging. Then came the classified advisory. All scientific activity in the region was terminated. Personnel were withdrawn. Satellites were ordered to divert their imaging arrays. And one line appeared in the final briefing: non-human architecture has re-entered active phase. The words were never meant to exist, but they do. Which means whatever was built beneath Antarctica was not built for us. It was built to outlast us, and now it is awake. So if one day the ice of Antarctica fractures without warning, if the magnetic field collapses faster than predicted, if the sky itself begins behaving in ways our science cannot explain, remember this: we didn't discover the colony, we were allowed to notice it. And when the time comes, the colony will not reveal itself. It will simply resume its purpose, whatever that purpose may be. The truth lies behind the veil.